Good morning, Westeros!
And welcome to our Morning Throners podcast. I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
I'm Glow.
I'm Kyle.
We're the fucking Morning Throners. Welcome back to another episode of Morning Throners podcast. We are here in the middle of a pandemic, but we're here to give you content. All right, this is Ned 7. Great chapter, great episode in the show if you're following along one by one. And let's just get right into it, guys. It's been a long time. Let's see if we still got the magic.
All right, where does it start?
Starts with
It's
it's with Ned and Barris and Selmy sitting in the
dead
ward,
kid.
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the squire that was turned knight from the
Who
Vale.
we now know his name, right? Did we not know his name last
We
time?
knew it before too.
What's his name
we
again?
Okay.
We did.
Did we?
Hugh.
Sir
Well,
Hugh.
we didn't know who he was, though, right?
Well, we learn about some stuff at the end of this chapter when Ned's talking to Varys.
Yeah, I guess that's what I meant.
We knew he was wearing the veil crescent moons, right?
Yeah.
Did I
at
know
the
that?
beginning of the you did not. You didn't pick up on it.
Well, we mentioned like in the normal part too, like that Sansa says, like when he gets hit, the blood is soaking up.
Yeah, no, I knew he had the crescents around the outside, but I didn't know.
Gotcha. That was from
Yeah.
Yuri.
No.
Gotcha. We talked about him in one of the other Ned ones. I think the Ned one where he learns about Gendry, because before that he's like talking to Alan or one of his guardsmen about like he sent him to question like the washerwoman and all these people. And this guy was the guy who said like, oh, if you want to talk, like I'm not
a
going to
knight
talk
now,
to the guardsman
yeah.
of the hand.
Yeah,
If you want to talk to me, send the hand himself. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you gotta forgive me a little for getting that, because I mean that's probably like 2 months ago we read that. This
Yeah,
point.
we took about a month
It's
off
no
of
problem.
So like,
We've taken about
It's
a
a
month off
small-
of recording
small
and
detail.
posting. I blame it all on Call of Duty Warzone. We've been a little distracted. If anybody knows that game, check out my YouTube channel for a Morning Throners plays Call of Duty Warzone. Coming out shortly.
Easy dub. Easy dubs.
But yeah, so that's who this guy is. And Barristan said that because like he was from the Vale and everyone else from Jon Arryn's party went back, there was no one there. So Barristan was the one who stood vigil for him. Is standing vigil something that happens today or happened in the real world at
Yes.
one point?
for sure.
What's it for? What's the point?
Just to protect the dead body. Make sure no one comes and like fucks
Yeah,
with it.
yeah.
No one grave robs it, I guess.
It's like that, and to kind of see them
Protect
off
the spirits.
as well. I think. Yeah, I think it's a little of both.
Yeah, like ceremonial as well
Yeah.
as practical.
How about that?
So Ned's
Look
wondering
at us
if
getting
his
us
death is his fault.
philosophical.
Because he was killed by, like right here, he says he was killed by a Lannister bannerman before I was able to talk to him. Do you remember who kills him, Kyle?
The
In the
mountain.
last Sansa chapter? Yeah, the
Yeah.
mountain.
Right in his motherfucking neck.
And I think in the last Sansa chapter too, the Hound tells a story about the mountain, and you were like, I don't know if it's true, the Hound's drunk.
Yeah.
we don't
No,
really know
we
anything about
go
the
into
mountain.
that a little bit here.
Yeah, we find out the mountain's kind of a
Pretty
hothead
fucked,
at
yeah.
least.
Savage beast.
At least a little bit of a hothead.
Yeah, yeah. So I might have been off the mark, I guess.
So John or Barristan says that this guy was knighted right after John's death. It was like right when he was knighted, which makes sense with what we know now. But that Barristan doesn't think he was ready to be knighted. He says like he wasn't ready, and Ned says no one's ever ready for death.
But it was because of John dying, right?
Well, we don't know why he. Oh yeah, the king. Yeah, I think here it says I don't have the book open in front of me, but he says
Knighted him
the
before he
king
rode
knighted him.
north.
The king knighted him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before he rode
So-
north in John's memory.
Yeah.
That was just like, hey, all right, fine, be a knight. Like that
Yeah.
pussy didn't deserve anything. Come on.
Well, he was the squire. Yeah, he was like the squire to his
I don't know
best
if it
friend.
was like, all right, fine, and then it was more of like in honor of John, like.
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
It's like this is
Now
the guy
he's-
who's been teaching you to fight. This is the guy like he's his John's squire.
Old
John's
man
in charge
John
of
wasn't teaching him
becoming him a
shit.
knight.
He's got nothing now.
Yeah. And Ned, this is funny. Ned thinks that like when his mom asks why he died, they'll tell her he fought to honor the king's hand. And again, it's just like Ned is
Another
still
thing
pissed at.
that's, yeah.
Ned's
What's he
still
say?
pissed at this tournament.
War and play shouldn't be mixed or something like that? Or you
Something
shouldn't
like
play
that.
at war?
Yeah, it shouldn't.
Yeah, you
be a
shouldn't
game.
play at war.
And we get our first hint of, or the first appearance of a Silent Sister here. Kyle, do you remember what the Silent Sister what their deal is?
No.
They're just like the ones who dress the bodies for
They're pretty. Yeah, they're pretty much
like
preparing
the biggest
body.
the
Okay.
biggest thing about the Silent Sisters we don't even find out here.
Morticians.
But
Okay,
but
so
what we
so let me say I did get that out of this chapter. I thought you meant before. Did I remember
yeah.
what they were from before? No, yeah.
I think
like,
this is the first time we hear them.
they're pretty much the
hear
only
about 'em.
people that deal with death, and that's like why they
Yeah.
cover their face and they're silent. And
Yep. Do they say they're silent?
well, they call them the Silent
I mean, they're
Sisters.
called the Silent
Silent.
That's what I was gonna say. We don't find out one of the biggest things about it.
Silent though. I'm not
I didn't-
sure.
They do call them silent, but yes, that's the thing. They take a vow of silence whenever you become a Silent Sister. Just like these people, and I don't know how that works. If they're allowed to talk to each other or just not allowed to talk to other people, but
Well,
yeah,
if they don't tell anybody, then how will anybody know?
Whoa.
so all right. Then they go to see
Falls
the
in a
king.
forest.
They walk. I guess this was like early morning because they said just as they're walking, everyone is starting to wake up and like come out in the tents and like breakfast is cooking and stuff. They pass a bunch of shields. Jeff, do you want to rattle some of those off? I don't have it open in front of me.
Shit.
All
I
the
don't either.
shields they
I
pass?
read from
Oh,
my
yeah,
phone today.
I sent you the thing. I can get it.
Red Wind.
Silver Eagle of Seaguard, Bryce Cairns Field of Nightingales, Cluster Grapes for the the red wines, my bad. Brindled Boar, Red Ox, Burning Tree, White Ram, Triple Spiral, Purple Unicorn, Dancing Maiden, Black Adder, Twin Towers, Horned Owl, and White Blazons of the King's Guard.
Yeah. So some of those I don't even remember ever coming up again, but some of them definitely do. There was so many I didn't write them all down in my notes because it'd be a lot of links, but I got to get back to it at the end. But yeah, they get back, they get into the tent, and Ned knows that Robert's going to try and fight in the melee because Jory told him about the argument that happened. So I don't know if you guys remember, Ned wasn't even at the first day of the tournament because he wanted nothing to do with it. So
That's great. What I mean, that's like just like it's named after you and you're not even there. Like everybody should be like, what the fuck's wrong with him? Like, why isn't he here?
Yeah, it should be like a huge thing that he doesn't show up. And as they're going up, Ned's talking to Barristan about like trying to get them like wanting Robert to not fight. And Barristan says, "They say the night's beauties fade at dawn, and the children of wine are oft disowned in the morning light." And Ned's like, I don't think so with Robert.
Robert. Not with this guy.
Well, the thing is, what we learn about later in this chapter, this seems to be like talking about women. This quote is like a common phrase about women, and we find out that Robert believes in it as far as women go because Ned says he's probably got a bunch of bastards all over the place.
Which I didn't remember reading the first time. You know about Gendry because Ned just went there, but I forgot about the girl in the veil and
Do they
what's
talk?
There's another person, someone that's with Ren or
Oh yeah, the one who's at Storm's End. Being
is
fostered
it
with
Renly or Bear? What the
Yeah,
fuck
he's
is it?
fostered. He's not with Renly, but he's fostered with Renly's Castellan. So the one
Right.
who's watching Renly's castle right now at Storm's End, the place that Robert and all them are from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's a Castellan?
Just basically like, hey, I'm leaving the house. You're in charge. Like if,
I got you.
Roderick. Sir
Roderick would be the Castellan if he was if he was still
That makes
in Winterfell.
sense. That makes sense.
When they get in Robert's tent, what's going on? This is one of the great. I think this is one of
great.
my favorite scenes, at least in the first season, if not the entire series in the show.
You got too
When-
fat?
When Robert's trying to get armored by his two Lannister squires, and Robert's yelling at them because he can't put his armor on right. And first off, Robert's already drinking. He's like
He just
drinking
wakes up
wine.
drinking beer.
Heavy ass strong beer.
he's like a 18-year-old on senior week, just like waking up and drinking beer with breakfast.
Yeah. So I got the quote here. It says, "Ned only needed to glance to understand the difficulty. The boys are not at fault," he told the king. "You're too fat for your armor, Robert." Robert Baratheon took a long swallow of beer, tossed the empty horn into the sleeping furs, wiped his mouth with the back of his hand, and said darkly, "Fat! Fat, is it? Is that how you speak to your king?" He let go laughter all of a sudden. "Ah, damn you, Ned! You're always right." The squire smiled nervously until the king turned on them. "You, yes, both of you. You heard the hand. The king is too fat for his armor. Go find Sir Aaron Santigar. Tell him I need the breastplate stretcher now. What are you waiting for?"
Everybody's
So,
just cracking up.
they make it more obvious in the show, but a breastplate stretcher isn't a real thing. Kyle. In case you
Okay.
didn't get that.
Dude, I literally watched a video today of like a kid going into AutoZone asking for blinker fluid.
Yeah, headlight fluid.
Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if I didn't know now from reading and watching that it was fake, like, I was like, all right, maybe they could get like another, just strap a piece of metal on and like tie it up.
Well, they just made a fat armor for Samwell, right?
Yeah, they had to like strap a bunch of
Yeah,
shit
so
together
that's
for
kind of
Sam.
what I thought was they were
Yeah, that's
good.
I kind of.
They do like kind of hint at it that it's not a real thing here because Robert says something like, "I hope Aaron Santigar is wise enough to send him to the next man and keep him running all day," like because it's not a real thing. Like Robert's hoping that Santigar realizes it's a joke and keeps him.
That'd be
Keep sending
great,
him
dude.
place
That'd
to
be
place.
hilarious if he did.
Yeah,
Robert's also a
yeah, I didn't catch that.
we all want Robert to be a friend.
yeah.
Like,
Robert is
He's
just
just a great drinking
like
buddy.
he's me.
Like,
I was
can
just saying that's
laugh
why we
at-
got
no,
Nelly.
you're not.
that's what
Yeah.
that's what I am. I'm too
But
fat for my
Robert's
armor.
also a
You
badass.
can call him fat, and then he does funny shit.
He laughs at his own joke. Yeah.
Slams beer.
So
You are
Ned,
Robert. Yeah.
He's
Ned
not
is,
as good looking though.
Except
Robert used to
can't.
be good looking.
Nelson takes punches. Robert gives punches.
So the thing that worries Ned about this is that the two squires are both Lannisters. They're
Yeah.
both Cersei's
He's surrounded by
sons.
fucking Lannisters.
Yeah, which we again, but what we know at the end of this chapter isn't good. Even
Robert's too drunk to
even
give a fuck.
besides the fact that Kyle gets like a pretty in depth like walkthrough of it, it's a lot of these chapters. If you just read them twice over before you continued, you'd like figure out a lot, right? Like we figure out about Sir Hugh.
Yeah.
This chapter starts with Sir Hugh. We figure out that he's surrounded by Lannisters. Ned worries about it. Now we realize it's kind of a real issue. Not that like we didn't really think that the Lannisters could be an issue before, but now it's like a guaranteed, basically. Well, I mean, Varys is Varys, so we don't know if Varys is feeding truth or feeding lies, but it seems more realistic now than it did when it was just Ned worrying about it. And so Robert says that. Then they start talking about how Cersei forbade him to fight, and Robert says Lyanna never would have done that, which is Ned's sister, the one he used to love. And
Ned, I think, breaks his heart. This is a comment that could break his heart right here.
Yeah,
That could
that
break
was a
Robert's
risky blow.
Yeah. especially
Yeah,
if he's
dude.
been
You
drinking.
didn't know her like I did, bro.
He's like, you didn't know her. She would have done the same thing. She like would have told you you're crazy. You're not fighting.
I'm surprised he didn't react more. Like, oh no, I loved her, blah, blah, blah. Like,
You don't know, Ned. You don't know.
Yeah. So, but Robert's like, I'm just like any man. I need things. I want to drink. I want to fuck. I want to fight. That's basically what he says. And Barristan points out. I don't know if Barristan is like just trying to again just dissuade him, or if he honestly believes what he's saying here. But he says like,
No one would dare touch you or something.
no one would dare touch you. You're the king. Like, and Robert's like, you say those pussies would like let me win? And Ned's like, yeah, for sure.
I think he meant that because
think
it's
so?
true. Yeah.
It is true. Yeah.
Tis true.
It's like
and
when
then
Kim,
I think Ned just jumps
It's
on
like-
that and
it's
is
like
like,
when
yeah.
Kim Jong-un
That's what
was
he said.
sure.
Ned's like, I
fuck
realized
outta
he
here.
realized that it was the way to go because that was gonna.
because Robert's not afraid of danger. He's afraid of like losing his pride,
Yeah.
being let win. It reminds me of like Kim Jong-un, right? Like, doesn't Kim Jong-un play basketball against like the
Didn't he shoot
hottest
an
basketball
18?
team?
I think
Yeah.
he shot an 18 on golf.
I think he shot a 17 in golf.
Or 17,
and
yeah.
then he beats people 100-0 in basketball. It's like, yeah, okay. It's exactly what
we gotta
would
clip
probably
this
happen
out,
with
or
Robert.
else we're gonna
Banned in
get,
North
like,
Korea, buddies.
Yeah.
There went
Because
half.
if you're banned in North Korea,
half our
that takes away.
listeners.
Yeah.
I don't know if half our listeners are just North Korean bots.
Yeah.
Holy shit! I got a long quote here.
Ned turned back. Robert took up his horn again, filled it with beer from a barrel in the corner, and thrust it at Ned.
Drink,
He said brusquely.
I've no thirst.
drink. Your king commands it.
Ned took the horn and drank. The beer was black and thick, so strong it stung the eyes. Robert sat down again.
Damn you, Ned Stark. You and Jon Arryn. I loved you both. What have you done to me? You were the one should have been king. You were Jon.
You had the better claim, your grace.
I told you to drink, not to argue. You made me king. You can at least have the courtesy to listen when I talk, damn you. Look at me, Ned. Look at what kinging has done to me. God's too fat for my armor. How did it come to this?
Robert.
Drink and stay quiet. The king is talking. I swear to you, I was never so alive as when I was winning this throne, or so dead as now that I've won it. And Cersei, I have Jon Arryn to thank for her. I had no wish to marry after Lyanna was taken from me, but Jon said the realm needed an heir. Cersei Lannister would be a good match, he told me. She would bind Lord Tywin to me should Viserys Targaryen ever win back his father's throne.
The king shook his head.
I love that old man, I swear it. But now I think he was a bigger fool than Moon Boy. Oh, Cersei is lovely to look at, truly, but cold. The way she guards her cunt, you'd think she had all the golden Castle Rock between her legs. Here, give me that beer if you won't drink it.
He took the horn, upended it, belched, wiped his mouth.
I'm sorry for your girl, Ned. Truly. About the wolf, I mean. My son was lying. I'd stake my soul on it. My son, you love your children, don't you?
With all my heart.
Ned said.
Let me tell you a secret, Ned. More than once I've dreamed of giving up the crown. Take ship for the free cities with my horse and my hammer. Spend time warring and whoring. That's what I was made for. The sellsword king. How the singers would love me. You know what stops me? The thought of Joffrey on the throne, with Cersei standing behind him, whispering in his ear. My son. How could I have made a son like that, Ned?
He's only a boy.
Ned said awkwardly. He had small liking for Prince Joffrey, but he could hear the pain in Robert's voice.
Have you forgotten how wild you were at his age?
It would not trouble me if the boy was wild, Ned. You do not know him as I do.
He sighed and shook his head.
Perhaps you're right. Jon despaired of me often enough, yet I grew into a good king.
Robert looked at Ned and scowled at his silence.
You might speak up and agree now, you know.
Your Grace.
Ned began carefully. Robert slapped Ned on the back.
Say that I'm a better king than Ares and be done with it. You never could lie for love nor honor, Ned Stark. I'm still young, and now that you're here with me, things will be different. We'll make this a reign to sing of, and damn the Lannisters to 7 hells. All right, what do you think about this quote? We find out basically what Robert thinks about the Lannisters, and we kind of had a feeling that he was like putting up with Cersei before, but here he literally says like the only reason he didn't just run away and start fucking people is because he's afraid of Joffrey.
It's pretty cool that he was like, "Yeah, I'm just out of here. Like, fuck this place."
Well, he says it to Ned in like the second Ned chapter too, when they're like out and like they're on the way down.
Let's just ride on. Let's just ride.
2 knights with swords at our side.
He's just the guy's guy. He doesn't want to be doing bullshit.
Exactly. It's like he was in college and then he like got a good job and he was all hyped about it and he's like, "Fuck, now I just got to do this every day. Are you shitting me?"
I mean, that's all of us.
Yeah, that's all of us. Robert's feeling what we're all feeling.
All right, moving on. All right, they
That's
end
it.
up
Nobody has
going.
anything else to say about this?
Not really. Like, he
I mean, I
doesn't like
guess that's it.
Cersei. He doesn't like Cersei. He wants to be out just running.
What
but
about
he's
the
scared.
drink? Your king commands it. That's. I think that's the best line in the whole show.
All right,
Sweet.
cool.
And there's no
line.
exclamation.
Cool
there's
line,
no
bro.
There's no exclamation point here, but he definitely screams it in the show, which is why I gave it a little exclamation point in the
Drink.
Drink. Your king commands it.
That's not an exclamation
Well,
point.
and then he's like, "Why are you being so quiet?" I guess what I'm trying to say. He told him to shut up at the beginning, and then
He tells him to shut up, and then he says something again, and then he
He's
tells
like,
him to shut
"Oh,
up
I
again.
expected you to agree or something."
Well, that part's funny because he's like,
Just tell me I'm a better king than the worst king in history.
So then Robert starts asking him like about the tournament, like who do you think's gonna win? He says like Mace Tyrell's son, the Knight of Flowers. Also, hold on. Well, I mean, we'll get.
Now that's a son you could be proud of.
That's a son you can be proud of. And he says how he knocked Jaime on his ass in the last tournament. Again, we hear about this.
And
again.
he
How
just
many times have we
cracked
heard
up.
about this one fight?
Yeah,
and he
it's a
said
lot.
that. But he said that he didn't crack up at Jaime. He cracked up at the look on Cersei's face.
Yeah, how pissed she was.
How pissed she was. And then a real quick line drop. I think it's only like one sentence. He says that Renly told him about that the Knight of Flowers has a 14-year-old sister, lovely as the dawn.
Yee.
Ned thought about this in one of the other chapters. Kyle, do you remember when Ned thought about this?
Marjorie Tyrell, so bad.
No, I don't remember that. I mean, I
Ned-
feel like I do, but I don't remember any specifics.
The only like again, it's a real short part, but Renly basically shows Ned a locket with a statue in it.
And they said,
And
doesn't
he
it look
asked
like...
if it looks like his sister.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we were saying that, like, Renly's trying to kind of follow Robert's footsteps and go just maybe in love with a girl who looks like the girl that Robert was in love with. Yeah.
Is it this
She's
girl?
top 5. Marjorie's
Yeah.
top 5.
Oh, you just spoiled it, dude.
What is this girl? He's when
Well,
when
Renly doesn't. He doesn't know it's.
when Renly talks to Ned the first time, he says it's Loras' sister. Yeah.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
I
Oh,
didn't
okay.
And then
spoil
here Renly
anything.
says
I
the same
said
thing.
she was top 5. What's the girl's
She is
name?
top 5 in the show.
Natalie Dormer?
Yeah, she's
Natalie Dormer.
top 2 in the show.
So they're eating breakfast, and Robert's like reminiscing about like a food fight they had one time when they were fostering in the Eyrie, where they'll start throwing oranges around, and Robert or Ned is just like loving Robert. Like
He's
he
loving
says, like,
life,
this
dude. He's cracking
is the Robert
up,
that I used to
smile on
know.
his face.
Yeah, he's like, this is the Robert I used to know. This is the one I was friends with. He's like, and before he said, like, even if I get proof about the Lannisters and Bran, he doesn't know if Robert would listen. Like, after the stuff that happened on the King's Road with the wolf and everything, but he thinks to himself, like, this Robert, the one that's here right now, like, joking around, he'd listen.
Well,
That's,
talking so
like-
much shit on Cersei too. Yeah.
And talking shit on Cersei, yeah.
Yeah.
And like, literally, the end of that quote, the last line of that quote we read was, "We'll make this a reign to sing of, and damn the Lannisters to 7 hells."
Yeah, and he better get him drunk, I guess, before he tells him. Sounds like.
yeah,
Get
yeah,
him
he
away
definitely
from
hates the
it.
Lannisters when
Just
they're
gotta
drunk.
get him away from Cersei. I feel like.
Well, at least get him drunk so that he's in the same mindset about Cersei. Seems to hate her more when he's drunk. So they go. This is when they get to the tournament. I'll let Jeff take over for the tournament.
All right, so basically
I'm
they're at
doing
the
it,
tournament
would
now.
ya?
Ned's making his appearance, and he notices that Queen Cersei is not at the tournament.
Who's Ned sitting with?
Ned is sitting with
Sansa.
Sansa because he promised to go.
But
with
she's
her.
so enamored by everything she
Because
doesn't even
Septus
realize that
hung
he's there.
over.
And Septus hungover.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's funny how they say Septus sick, right?
She got a cold.
I didn't even
believe
realize
her.
that. Was ill today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, come on. She was like drunk as shit last chapter.
All right, so Kyle, do you remember who you picked? Do you remember who you
forget.
picked would win the tournament, Kyle?
I thought I said the Hound, right?
You said the Hound.
Yeah, I thought so.
So you called it right through an odd
backdoors
and
this
exciting
way.
turn of events.
Let's go, Kyle.
That's a backdoor win.
He did say that. Well, we don't know. The Hound could have won straight up if they finished it, but they didn't. But the one thing Kyle did say is he thought the Hound would beat Sir Barristan, just because one time they said like Sir Barristan beat the Hound. Like somebody mentioned that in one of the chapters. All right, go ahead. Whoever would.
Did
pick
Barristan
win, Jeff.
even fight?
He did in the first round. He won a bunch, but he lost to somebody.
All right, so they're at the tournament. He's with Sansa. Ned is, and the first two up are Sir Gregor and what's his name, Sir Loras Tyrell.
No,
No, it's Jamie.
Jamie and
Oh,
the
it
Hound.
is Jamie and the Hound.
Jamie and
Damn
the
it, I
Hound.
mixed it up. Fuck.
They're
Whatever.
first.
Idiot.
How's it go?
Littlefinger.
Oh,
Littlefinger
yeah.
stands up. He wants to bet on it. Wants to bet on the fight.
Littlefinger calls out 100 dragons on the Kingslayer, right, or on Jamie or something like that, and Renly takes him up on it.
Says no way. Hound's looking
Hound
fierce
looks
today.
hungry.
Yeah.
Hound's looking hungry, and then Littlefinger says even a hungry dog knows not to bite the hand that feeds him, which is a good point.
Yeah.
Which is the whole Robert thing, not getting hit in the war or the melee, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
But then, so the Hound misses on his first one because Jamie's just a little bit quicker. But
Yeah,
the
he does a
Hound,
little side hop. Dude, they don't even ever mention that in other jousts. Jamie literally does a
Yeah.
little side hop in the saddle to give a little.
which is probably not the smartest thing to do, but hey,
Yeah, I
you.
mean, yeah, I agree.
Do
with
you.
that.
never want to
Kingslayer.
leave your feet during a pass rush.
No.
Right?
never. Just lose all your power. So then the next time, the Hound smartens up, man, and just connects.
Yeah, he.
Wallops
Kingslayer
him.
Falls so hard,
Absolutely wallop.
it dents his helmet, and they can't take it off him. They have to fucking drag him off the fucking pitch.
And
Yeah,
everyone's
he's gotta
cracking
get let
up.
off because he's blind and all that shit.
And Robert
Everyone's
is
cracking
laughing
up.
the loudest.
Yeah, Robert's laughing the loudest. And Santa says, "Oh, I knew he would win." And Littlefinger says, "Next time you know someone's gonna win, let me know before Renly takes all my money." And Renly says, "Too bad Tyrion wasn't here. I would have twice as much money."
The imp.
And then yeah, this is when Gregor's up. Who was talking about that glow? Go ahead.
So Sir Gregor and Loras Tyrell go up. Loras's horse seems nice and steady, while
It's a
Gregor's
mare.
the
Well,
mare. A
It's a
mare.
mare, which is a girl horse. For those of you who don't know about
A
horses,
female
a
horse.
female horse.
And
It
the
does describe
stallion that Gregor's riding.
Destier.
So I'm just gonna read a
Destier.
little short quote about just this is the first like real description of Gregor we get. He was huge, the biggest man Eddard Stark had ever seen. Robert Baratheon and his brothers were all big men, as well as the Hound. And back at Winterfell, there was a simple-minded stable boy named Hodor who dwarfed them all. But the night they called the Mountain That Rides would have towered over Hodor. He was well over 7 feet tall, closer to 8, with massive shoulders and arms as thick as trunks of small trees. His Destier seemed a pony between his armored legs, and the lance he carried looked as small as a broom handle. So this dude is just massive. Who is 7.5 feet tall? Like Shaq? Shaq's
He's
not
like
even that tall.
7'2",
I was
maybe.
gonna say he's not that tall.
Yeah, he's like an Andre the
If you know
Giant
who
type.
like
The
Bol
dude who
Bol
plays
is,
the mountain.
Shaq's
isn't this big.
7'1".
I think Thon Maker might be 7'4", if you want to look that up.
Is that the guy who plays the Mountain?
No, Thon Maker's a basketball player.
The guy who plays the Mountain, his name's what?
Yao Ming
Thor?
is 7'6". He's
not
7.5
Thor.
feet.
Yeah, but Yao Ming is like a twig.
I understand.
Yeah, Thon
okay.
Maker's a twig too. Yeah.
This guy is just massive. The guy who plays the Mountain is fucking
Huge,
intimidating.
and he's still not as big
He's
as the
still
mountain
not
is.
as big as this. Yeah,
What is he like?
Um,
6'10"?
he's got. I think he's probably like 6'8". He's.
I was
he's,
gonna say, he
he's,
might be
he's
even
way
less.
too. He's way too like.
Wide.
Which guy is
broad
it?
to be able to do it.
Bjornsson? Is that him?
Yeah,
Thor,
that's
yeah,
it.
Thor
yeah.
Bjornsson or something.
didn't
they
they
had a
have-
bunch.
Yeah,
There's
two,
actually
right? He's
2
6'9".
mountains, maybe 3.
It was actually 3. Yeah,
I think there's 3. Yeah.
He's 6'9".
yeah. He's the one who like did too many steroids and paralyzed half his face. He had like a stroke, and now like, when
Yeah.
he talks, he can't move half his face.
Is it like that in the show?
He doesn't talk.
The Mountain doesn't have many speaking lines.
Okay.
So maybe.
And I think it actually happened like the way he had the stroke around like season like late in the show. So even by then, it's not like
Oh, it
the
was
speaking
during.
lines he had.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like he was like in a lifting contest in the off season or something. So we find out that he was 17 years old when King's Landing fell, and he was there. And I think Tywin knighted him, like when King's Landing fell,
I
maybe.
think it was right before it or something.
And there was rumors that he was the one who smashed Prince Aegon's skull, Rhaegar's kid, against the wall,
And
Robert
raped
talked
the
about this
wife.
earlier,
Then killed her.
and raped the wife, and then killed her. Yeah. So again, this is rumors that Ned's heard. No, all allegedly, but not good.
Which
rumors.
is weird that they didn't bring it up at the trial either. Not even a mention.
And what
What
trial?
trial?
That just says trial. We don't even know.
Was there a trial?
It says so in the.
Where?
You're gonna make me look through this motherfucker.
No,
No,
no, no.
It said you wouldn't bring
It-
it up in his hearing.
These things not.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, that's why I took it
That
as.
means
I'm sorry.
no, no. It
I
means
got
he-
you there.
Don't
I got
say
you,
it in
yeah.
front of him.
I could see
Yeah.
your misconception.
I
there,
see it.
Jeff.
Yep, I
I
see
don't
it.
agree with it, but I see it.
Sorry. At least I can read, unlike Nelson.
Jeff knows words like knows too many meanings for words. I don't even know what most words mean in the first place. Yeah. So one more thing about more of the rumors. Ned seldom put much stock into gossip, but the things said of Sir Gregor were more than ominous. He was soon to be married for the 3rd time, and one heard dark whisperings about the death of his first 2 wives. It was said that his keep was a grim place where servants disappeared unaccountably, and even the dogs were afraid to enter the hall. And there had been a sister who died young under queer circumstances, and the fire that had disfigured his brother, and the hunting accident that had killed his father. Gregor inherited the keep, the gold, the family estates. His younger brother Sandor had left the same day to take service with the Lannisters as a sworn sword, and it was said that he had never returned, not even to visit. So I think this gives a little weight to what Sandor was saying to Sansa.
Oh
in the
yeah,
last
for
chapter.
sure. Yeah. It was one of those moments where well, all right, maybe I was wrong.
You're
Do you-
fucking wrong, Kyle.
So hold on. Do you? Let's. Then I want
Well,
to.
you asked me to make all these fucking predictions.
Yeah, no, it's
so
good.
I'm gonna,
No,
I'm gonna be
no, it's
wrong
cool. Do you-
occasionally, Glow.
Do you remember
Kyle,
the story
I was
though?
wrong 99.9% of my predictions.
Do you know? Yeah.
I might
Do
have
you
gotten
know?
0.1%.
Do you remember the story, Kyle? Because that story was messed up.
Well, yeah, he took his toy soldier, and then he burned his
But-
face in a brazier.
But it was like a soldier that Gregor didn't even care about.
Yeah,
He
oh,
said
yeah,
like because
yeah.
the age difference, like it was like something he didn't.
Yeah,
play
he was
about.
done with that. He was done with toys by then. But yeah,
It just
he
makes
still
sense.
fucked him up. So
It's so fucked up.
well, and then I mean, I don't think we're there yet, obviously. But then he like cuts his horse's head off. And
Yeah,
this whole
yeah.
shit.
We're pretty
So, I
much
mean,
there.
He
getting
does
there.
some pretty awful stuff. So I mean,
Yeah. So Glow, go ahead. Talk about Loris. You were talking about.
All
Loris
right, so
before.
back to Loris and his horse. The horse is a mare. It's very ready to race. It is or fight, not race.
no, get fucked. It's trying to get fucked this way.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it's
right.
like prancing.
The
It's even like
destry-
dancing back and forth right before the thing. It's like dancing in front of him. He says he does like a side.
Yeah, it
hop
does
or
like a
something.
side hop. Yeah, is that?
I
How
thought
horses present
Loris was
themselves?
showing off.
That's how a
This way.
horse-
Yeah, I thought that was just Loris being.
No,
shown
that's
off.
how a horse shows off its hindquarters.
But
so
I think it was
it's
Loris
ready
like
to go.
trying to like flaunt for the other.
I'll trust Nelson's word because Nelson's fucked a few horses.
Yeah, yeah.
Because Nelson's got a horse cock. You mean?
No.
No, Nelson was getting horny during this. The destrier, on the other hand, was very rowdy. Couldn't be controlled, really. He was bouncing all around. Obviously, some foul play was in there. But
Today.
I kind of forget what happens in the first row. Do they hit each other in the first row?
It doesn't even.
it's first,
Yeah, he gets fucked up. The mountain
First done.
gets
First
knocked
round
off.
and done. Fucking Loris fucks him up, knocks him down, brings the horse down with him. Immediately gets up, says, "Yo, Squire, sword me." Fucking lops the head, basically almost in one swing, and it's fucking madman. Goes right after Loris Tyrell. Loris Tyrell's like, "Oh shit, I'm about to be fucked."
He's
up.
trying to call for his sword too, but the mountain just like pushes his squire out of the
Yeah,
way.
like no chance. And
Loris
then,
knows he would get his ass whooped.
So Loris is what? I think we talked about this last
16.
time.
He's 16.
16 years old.
And the mountain. So they said the mountain was 17 when King's Landing fell, which is 19 years before, or 15 years before this. So he's like 32 now.
Loris is pretty much a pretty boy that's good at jousting, it seems like.
Yeah,
too.
exactly. Like I don't know if jousting relates to sword fighting.
Not at all.
No.
So yeah, he comes at Loris.
Who
He, like-
steps in?
The Hound.
The
Sandor,
Hound.
yeah.
Awesome.
Fucking the man.
Grabs his hand. Right?
Yeah. And what's weird is even though like the Hound obviously should hate him, Ned says that while they're fighting, and they seem to fight for like a while. Like Ned thinks it goes on longer than it should have. But Gregor is taking cuts at at the Hound's head, and the Hound doesn't once go for Gregor's head,
He's
even
just
though he doesn't have a
defending.
helmet on. Yeah.
I mean, I
So-
feel
Do
like
Do you
the
think
Hound
that's, like,
didn't even
fear of
take.
getting reprimanded from the Lannisters or something?
No, I think he doesn't want to kill his brother.
I think he doesn't want to kill his brother. Yeah. That's what I think it is too.
Definitely.
I would hate to.
He's just a better dude. I would hate him too, and I'd probably be taking cuts at his head. But so Robert calls for a stop. And Sansa's like, "Does the Hound win now?" And Ned's like, "No, they got to go again." But Loris comes out without armor on. He's like, "Dude, you
Definitely
saved my life."
concussed. CTE forming in the
yours.
brain.
Yeah, oh
You
yeah.
think
he's,
Loris?
Oh yeah, he's definitely fucked
Oh my
up.
god, he
Like,
couldn't
he's
even
feeling
stand
that.
up.
Yeah.
I think the first time I read this, I thought Loris was dead because it says like the Hound took an overhand like crashing swing and hits Loris in the chest, knocking him from the horse.
The mountain, you mean?
Yeah, the mountain. This dude just fucking took a horse's head off with one swing, and Loris just takes it to the chest like it's nothing.
I didn't think he
Yeah,
was
it doesn't
dead.
make sense.
No, he had armor on.
He does
Yeah.
have armor
How,
on, but
how fucking tough
it's
is
the
that armor?
fucking the mountain just cut off a horse's head.
He's
Horses
got
are
concussed.
sick.
armor on. What do you think
Let's just
armor's
agree that
for?
he's concussed.
Oh yeah, he's definitely his ribs are broken probably.
Yeah, he's fucked up. Which might be why he
And
backed out because he's a
So
Yeah,
sick
well,
he
little
brings
wolf.
up and says, "The Hound, like you'll beat me too. Like fuck it. Like you can be the champion."
That's probably why he does back out. His ribs are
Yeah, I
fucked.
think he's all fucked up.
It's definitely fucked up.
So as they're walking to the archery thing, Littlefinger says Loris must have known the mayor was in heat, like he did this on purpose. Barristan's like, "There's small honor in tricks," and Renly's like, "Yeah, small honor, but 20,000 gold,
$20,000,
which is the second place prize." I think we found out
20,000 dragons.
I think we found out first place was 90,000, so that's what Sandor got. It's a nice little
Nice payday.
nice payday, especially when you got to think we still don't know like how much value is here, but Littlefinger bets 100, and Littlefinger is not a poor dude. He's
Yeah.
a master of coin, right? Littlefinger and Renly, the lords of the realm, are betting 100, so you got to think that's a decent amount. And Sandor won 90,000, Loris won 20. That's crazy amount of money.
It's a lot of money.
Well, well, we kind of skipped the part where like the Robert actually finally stood up and told him to settle the fuck down,
Yeah.
and like it seemed like the mountain was still ready to go, kind of to me at least.
And they don't. It doesn't seem as obvious here, but in the show, that's exactly exactly what they say here happens. Robert yells, the Hound takes a knee, and the Mountain's still like taking one last swing, and it goes right over his head. And that's what it says. Like the Mountain swings and hits
And then he storms off like a little
and he
bitch.
storms off.
Well, he's just like, fuck this, I don't need this. Yeah, like he doesn't respect the king, obviously, I guess is what I'm getting at here.
So they go to archery. A common man from Dorne named Anguy wins. He beats Sir Balon Swan and Jalbarzo.
Ned offers him a job.
Yeah, because he's just like a commoner, but he's just like he's like drunk
Too
and just
proud.
like enjoying the winnings because he won a bunch of money or whatever, and he's like, yeah, fuck you, and says no. Then they have they have the melee. Kyle, do you want to talk about the melee real quick?
Flaming sword dude wins.
Yes, it does.
Thoros of Myr. Crazy bald madman with a flaming sword. So there's like a bunch of broken bones, broken fingers, broken collarbone.
So how does his sword flame for 3 hours?
I don't know. That's what I was thinking too.
What kind of liquid does he put his sword in? Or is it full of said liquid? Like, is it a candle? Maybe.
I don't know. In the show, it looks cool, but
right?
In the show, it looks cool, but I don't know how it would burn for 3 hours.
I mean, I think even in the show they say like after a while it damages the sword
it like
so
hurts.
much.
Yeah, it like fucks up the sword. Later, they do talk about ways to make swords burn, but they don't say that it would last 3 hours.
Yeah. That was the part that I mean, I know.
But I think they say they dip it in oil, and when they say it in the book, whether that was the Duncan egg or.
Don't they say
but it damages the
like
steel?
that the point of it is to frighten the horses because the fire frightens the horses?
They did say that had an effect on it for sure.
So first off, I didn't know.
It's also a fucking flaming sword. Like, that would frighten a human.
For sure, but I didn't know. Well, a normal sword would frighten a human. Yeah. But I totally like didn't even think about that. When you're in a melee, you start on horseback. I figured it would be like kind of the Royal
I thought
Rumble.
It was all melee. I didn't think it was on horses.
Is this like Royal Rumble style in wrestling where like you start with two people?
You're knocked off the ring.
And then another person comes in?
I think it's all of them at once.
It's all for one.
It's like 20 people at once on horseback.
Yeah, because people start in groups.
Yeah. Yeah, you
and then you
gang up on
betray.
everybody, and then then
exactly. There's friendly fire. Friendly fire is a thing in melee.
It would be mayhem.
How do you knock somebody out? Is a question, I guess.
I think there's a ring. Like if you've seen, you can yield, but I mean maybe. I know when I watched Spartacus, if you watch that series, they did a melee, and there was a ring of fire as well. If you got knocked out the ring, you're out. So it could be both.
Yeah. I was thinking more yields because when you 3 broken arms, broken collarbones, 12 broken fingers. What else?
Bunch of bumps and bruises and sprains.
Too many to count.
You got to assume that most people are quitting after they break. Maybe not. Broken fingers not that bad. People break fingers and play.
I mean,
football.
you're also. I mean,
dude,
think
cut
of
off his own fingers and play football, dude.
Think of the adrenaline that you're going through, and also how much money. Like people who are fighting that probably have nothing. Like, oh, I'm fighting for 90,000 dragons. They're like, no, I'm gonna fight. You're gonna have to kill me to get me out of this fucking ring.
Yeah, but so the one thing that Varys talks about later, and it's something that I think I talked to Jeff and Glow about in the last spoiler section, that the fact that Cersei was trying to do something fishy here with Robert in the when
she was actually trying to goad him into fighting,
knowing that kind of like what Ned and Barristan are saying when they're walking up. He's like he obviously is too prideful to accept that in front of his whole court and everything. So and with 40 people fighting all at the same time, you got to do to the flaming sword. Nobody would notice if somebody like shanked Robert in the back or something, right?
Yeah.
You got to.
I mean, until you see. No, I feel like they would have to try and kill him with like a blunted weapon. It's not like you're pulling out a dirk and stabbing him in the kidney.
I think
wait,
they would,
who stabbed him in the kidney?
Well, everything's blunted, but I think it would be more what I'm saying is like you bring a secret dagger in and just give him a stab, and then nobody notices or something.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Prison shank.
Cut to the
Ned's in his bedchamber.
No, tournament.
Oh my god!
Feast hall.
Over.
Feast hall.
Yeah, he's talking.
Feast hall. Ned's having the time of his life.
Ned's enjoying himself at a feast. Everyone's enjoying themselves at the feast. Sansa's having fun. Arya's having fun.
They're being nice to each other.
Arya's all fired up about dancing lessons, and we find out that Sansa doesn't really know.
She thinks she's actually dancing.
She thinks she's actually dancing because she shows.
You must
Sansa
be terrible at dancing.
ginormous bruise.
How the fuck you get
another
that
reason I want to talk about
bruise?
this is because in the other Ned chapter where Ned comes back and sees Arya standing on the stairs, I said that scene wasn't as good as in the show because in the show Arya says a line about, and she says it here.
Every fall is a lesson.
Every hurt is a lesson. Every lesson makes you better, or something like that. Yeah. So I was mad that they didn't say that in the first scene. I totally forgot they said it here.
So say sorry to George.
But Ned is Ned's a little worried about Stereo. Thinks he's a little unconventional, Kyle.
Yeah, he's like, I can get a Jory to teach you, right? Or
and the
anybody,
the other offers Barristan, dude. Barristan's like the greatest fighter in the realm. Like this is the guy who Bran was before they were gonna come to King's Landing. Bran was like, yeah, when he had legs, he's like, oh, I can like. Or you think I'll get to meet Sir Barristan? Like Bran was geeked up about meeting him, and Arya just got the chance to get trained under him. And she's like, nah, I like this guy. We're gonna go catch cats tomorrow. And Ned's like, cats? What the fuck?
I'm training you to fight, not round up animals.
Yeah, exactly. They get back to the room. Ned puts the girls to bed. He's chilling. It's late night. He looks out the window and sees so he must know where Littlefinger lives. He notices that even though it's well past midnight, Littlefinger's still awake.
Yeah.
Which is a weird thing to kind of point out when they don't bring it up again.
It has something to do with something.
So he pulls out the dagger and he starts thinking about like, why the fuck would Tyrion kill Bran? Why would anyone kill? Like he can't think why anyone would want to kill Bran. He thinks like he knows there's something connected about Bran and Jon, but he doesn't know what it is.
Didn't he say something about the fall too?
I don't know. I don't think so.
He was just saying why.
He says like the fall.
Why would someone try to kill him?
The dagger, Bran's fall, all of it was linked somehow to the murder of Jon or Aaron.
Yeah, and he can't figure it out. He says,
but I mean, he knows that the Lannisters killed or tried to kill Bran, right? Or at least he thinks the Lannisters tried to kill Bran.
That's what he says. He says.
So why doesn't he just put this all together right here?
What do you mean, put what together?
That the Lannisters had something to do with his fall as well. His son that never falls.
Because does he think okay.
And then
I see what you're saying. Just connect you think Tyrion is behind the knife, and you think that the knife is connected to the fall in Jon. Yeah. So why not connect at least Tyrion or the Lannisters to also the fall in Jon?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, or at least kind of like start venturing that.
Kind of
maybe he is. No,
so the one thing is
maybe it's because I know more than I should as well.
Well, maybe he's thought about it too, and I don't know if you remember this. Tyrion was on the hunt. Most people were hunting the day Bran fell, and Tyrion was with them. Jaime and Cersei were back at Winterfell, but Tyrion was with them. So if he's not thinking broad strokes, he's thinking just people. Maybe he thinks Tyrion's innocent of that because he was with Tyrion that day.
Maybe it's the other Lannisters that he's also skeptical of.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. But then he says Lord Stannis hasn't returned. Lady Arryn has held her silence, and now the squire's dead. Jory's still searching whorehouses. All he learned since he got here was about Robert's bastard, but he doesn't understand the importance. And then this is when we start talking about some of Robert's other bastards. He has one in the Eyrie that he had. So Robert was less than 17 when he had that kid in the Eyrie, which is crazy. Right?
Yeah.
That's not crazy. I mean, you didn't go to high school with people that got pregnant?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's different times, too. Like, people were probably getting married around the same time, too.
And it says that he actually liked that kid. Like, he would visit... It said he visited that kid even after he got tired of the mom.
The babe.
And he thinks like Cersei... Because he's trying to figure out, like, why this bastard matters. And he's like, I get why Cersei would obviously be pissed about bastards, but it doesn't matter. None of them can threaten his true-born children, so it doesn't make sense. And as he's thinking about this, somebody comes up.
Some just random dude shows up, muddy as fuck.
Smells sweaty.
Some hood up, and just like demands to speak.
Won't say his name.
Yeah.
Turns out, it's
Varys.
Spider.
Smelling like sweat.
Kyle, what'd you think of that?
I mean, I think it shows just his cunning and his stealth, right?
And the other cool thing is he's like, okay, I see
how you got
here.
by.
How'd you get by the other guards?
Yeah, he's like, I got ways that only
ghosts and spiders.
Yeah.
So this again, I talk about things more than I probably should early on, just so that later when we get to it, it comes up. But when Kat is first coming to King's Landing and they see the castle on the hill, she thinks like there's the castle that King Aegon started building and her son Maekgar finished, and then Maekgar killed all the builders who made it afterwards to hide the tunnels because it's just riddled with tunnels. So we don't know if Varys knows all of them, but he knows a decent amount. Because we were saying at that point that because the Targaryens are dead now, like even if they did pass on the secrets through their line, a lot of those secrets probably got lost when the rebellion happened. But we know that at least Varys knows some of them.
As you would expect, the Lord of Whispers, or what is it, Master of Whispers.
I think the best part about this conversation was when Ned was like, "Wait, we're saying this whole quote. I will not keep you long, my lord. There are things you must know. You are the king's hand, and the king is a fool."
The eunuch's cloying tones were gone. Now his voice was thin and sharp as a whip.
Your friend, I know, yet a fool nonetheless, and doomed, unless you save him. Today was a near thing. They had hoped to kill him during the melee.
For a moment, Ned was speechless with shock.
Who?
Varys sipped his wine.
But I truly need to tell you that you are a bigger fool than Robert, and I am on the wrong side.
The Lannisters,
Ned said.
The Queen. No, I will not believe that. Not even Cersei. She asked him not to fight.
She forbade him to fight, in front of his brother, his knights, and half the court. Tell me truly, do you know any surer way to force King Robert into melee, I ask you?
So, I got a question for Kyle. I'm going to ask you about what you think of Varys at the end of all this. But for now, this is stuff that we talked about earlier. Did you think about this, Kyle, before he said this? Do you think that this was a possibility, that there was some foul play here?
No. I didn't think he was going to die here. If I'm going to answer honestly, no.
Okay. I mean, I think it's good, but it makes sense, right?
Yeah. That's why I guess what I'm saying is like.
It makes sense, but
honestly,
you have to like really, really think about like everything to pick that up. So Ned points out that like kind of this is stuff we were saying, kind of covering some of it earlier. Even if somebody did kill him,
it's weird that Ned didn't pick up on this earlier because he was like, "Oh, like Ned or Robert's gonna do it just because Cersei told him not to."
Well,
like,
he was also not there to see it firsthand. He heard about that. That Robert wanted to fight from Jory, but he might not have even known that Cersei was the one that forbade him.
No, it said that. You got in a fight with your wife. You got in a drunk fight with your wife. Like, he's like skeptical of everything the Lannisters are doing, but not that moment, which is it's just stupid that he didn't think of that on his own. I feel like he's smart enough, but
why does Cersei not show up to the tournament? Because does Cersei know
he's
not going to fight?
Because she knew he wasn't going to die. Yeah. I guess.
She thinks he is going to fight, right?
Maybe.
Because in the morning when Ned goes to see Robert, he's trying to get his armor on.
I feel like you got to have some discussion about that in the spoiler section, probably, because I have no idea. That's a good question. Okay.
I don't know if I think it's either what Jeff said, that she thought he was going to die and didn't want to be there because she didn't know if she'd be able to mask her reaction or something.
That's what I'm thinking right now.
Or if it's actually somebody told her hey, Robert's not actually fighting, and it pissed her off, and she's like, dude, fuck, I'm not going.
Yeah, it could be either way. I could see her not wanting Robert dies and she's fucking up there smiling.
Yeah, those are the only two options. So I don't think it really matters, but I think I don't know. It depends on if she found out that he wasn't going to fight or not. So Ned asked Varys why he didn't do something or tell him earlier about this, and that's why when you guys pick up the next quote.
Oh yes, I confess. And you would have rushed straight to the king, yes? And when Robert heard of his peril, what would he have done, I wonder?
Ned considered that.
He would have damned them all, and fought anyway, to show he did not fear them.
Varys spread his hands.
I will make another confession, Lord Eddard. I was curious to see what you would do. Why not come to me, you ask? And I must answer, why? Because I did not trust you, my lord.
You do not trust me?
Ned was frankly astonished.
The Red Keep shelters two sorts of people, Lord Eddard.
Varys said.
Those who are loyal to the realm, and those who are loyal only to themselves. Until this morning, I could not say what you might be. So I waited to see. And now I know, for a certainty.
He smiled a plump, tight little smile, and for a moment his private face and public mask were one.
I begin to comprehend why the queen fears you so much. Oh, yes, I do.
You're the one she ought to fear.
Ned said.
No, I am what I am. The king makes use of me, but it shames him. A most puissant warrior is our Robert, and such a manly man has little love for sneaks and spies and eunuchs. If a day should come when Cersei whispers, "Kill that man," Hill and Payne will snick my head off in a twinkling. And who will mourn poor Varys then? North or south? They would sing no songs for spiders.
He reached out and touched Ned with the soft hand.
But you, Lord Stark, I think, no, I know. He would not kill you, not even for his queen, and there may lie our salvation.
So, Kyle, here's my question for you. Up to this point, everyone is like saying Varys is like the most sneaky, don't trust Varys, like behind your back type of guy. He seems like a pretty good guy here. Seems like he has the best interest, at least Robert's best interest in mind. Is he playing a game or is he?
That's a good
What's his play
question.
here?
That's a good question. No, it seems like right. Like what you're saying is correct. Like he is being honest and he's forthcoming with all this, but at the same time he could be trying to kind of catch Ned in a trap. And I have the unfortunate pleasure of knowing that Ned does get his head snicked off. I don't know why, honestly. That's true. I don't know the reasoning. So,
Well, I mean, even at the end of this, they don't have a good plan, right? The end is basically like, we're gonna hope that if they try again, we'll hear about it and be able to stop it. But right now, it's just like we're just hoping for it because we have
yeah.
nothing.
And you might end up like Sir Hugh over there on the first day.
Exactly.
Because he was asking too many fucking questions, and now Gregor gave him a stick in the neck. So
the other thing is the reason I think I like Varys, and I think it applies to Littlefinger too, is what Varys says here is like, yeah, they're kind of useful, and yeah, they seem to have some power, but nobody gives a fuck about them. Anybody says kill one of these guys, and they're gone. You have to stay relevant, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of thing where you withhold some information and tell some information. You tell enough information to be useful, but you withhold enough information that you have something that they can't kill you for, right? So he likes Ned here because Ned's in a situation where they're not going to kill you no matter what, probably. Or Robert's not going to kill you no matter what, probably. Like he's not as at risk as him or somebody like Littlefinger, right?
yeah, he has
That
history.
makes sense.
Ned brings up, he says, hey, the king's got other friends. He's got his brother. And Varys is like, yeah, his brothers hate the Lannisters, but hating
They
the
don't
Lannisters
really like him.
isn't the same as being loved by the king. Ned says what about the Kingsguard? He's got all the 7 in the Kingsguard. And he
Paper
says,
shield, baby.
he's like, Paper Shield. We both know what Jaime's oath is worth. And
Two of them
and
are also
like,
for
I know
Cersei.
I know Sir Meryn and Sir Burrows are the Queen's creatures and potentially more.
Selmy's the only real steal in that group.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's old, and he says, very straight up says, like, if it comes to swords, you are the only person that's truly on Robert's side. Like, you're the only person that cares about him as a person enough to, if it came to life or death, like, put down his life for him, probably. So Ned's like, dude, we got to tell him. Like, right now, what are we doing? And Varys like, are you stupid? Like, without proof, I'm dead. Like, sure, like I just said, he's not going to kill you. But if you just come to him and say, like, oh, Varys told me they're trying to kill you, he's like, I'm fucking dead. He's like, so let's not do that. And he's like, if we don't do anything, they're going to try and kill him again. And Varys like, yeah, but like I said a second ago, like, hopefully my spies catch it in enough time, and with the two of us, we can prevent it. So that's their plan. It doesn't seem like a great plan, but that's their plan where it's at right now.
That's all they got, baby.
Until they get some proof.
All right, so the last quote is just up to the end of the chapter. It's right as he's leaving.
He was at the door when Ned called.
Varys,
The eunuch turned back.
how did Jon Arryn die?
I wondered when you would get around to that.
Tell me.
The tears of lice, they call it. A rare and costly thing. Clear and sweet as water, and it leaves no trace. I begged Lord Arryn to use a taster. In this very room I begged him, but he would not hear of it. Only one who was less than a man would ever even think of such a thing, he told me.
Ned had to know the rest.
Who gave him the poison?
Some dear, sweet friend who often shared meat and mead with him, no doubt. Oh, but which one? There were many such. Lord Arryn was a kindly, trusting man.
The eunuch sighed.
There was one boy. All he was, he owed Jon Arryn. But when the widow fled to the Eyrie with her household, he stayed in King's Landing and prospered. It always gladdens my heart to see the young rise in the world.
The whip was in his voice again, every word a stroke.
He must have cut a gallant figure in the tourney, him in his bright new armor, with those crescent moons on his cloak. A pity he died so untimely, before you could talk to him.
Ned felt half poisoned himself.
The squire,
He said,
Sir Hugh?
wheels within wheels within wheels. Ned's head was pounding.
Why? Why now? John Aaron had been hand for 14 years. What was he doing that they had to kill him?
Asking questions.
Varys said, slipping out the door.
I just love how, again, I feel like Varys and Littlefinger, they're really good with words. Like, Varys, like, when Ned says, I need to know the rest. Who gave him the poison? He could have just been like, Sir Hugh. But no, he goes off. It's like, oh, someone who was near and
who
dear
would
to
it have
him,
been?
no doubt.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe the one who stayed in King's Landing after he left and prospered. It's, I don't know. It's,
So, is that what that
the
meant?
one that just
'Cause-
died right before you talked to him?
Because why would
so
it...
Go
Okay.
ahead.
No,
It's
okay, I
weird
guess that
because
makes-
we know he was knighted from Robert, right?
Yeah.
Which I doubt Robert is the one who ordered him dead. So it's not like the knighthood was a gift from that. But as they were talking about at the beginning of this chapter, Ned says like, "Oh, send his armor to his mom." And Barristan's like, "I'm sure he hasn't finished paying him. He's like paying off the armor. He's just like a squire." And Ned's like, "Oh, I'll figure that out. I'll talk to the armorer." Well, if somebody gave him a ton of money to kill somebody, he probably just bought nice armor, right? And I think that's what Varys is hinting at here. Like, oh, somebody who once his master died didn't go back home with everyone else, but in fact stayed and like did well for himself. Like, how does that happen? Is basically what Varys is saying here. Also, the other thing that comes out of this is Varys says that he warned Jon of this. He told him to use a taster, which makes me feel like Varys and Jon probably had a similar relationship as to Ned and Jon at this point, right? Like, Varys is telling Ned stuff that he thinks is important for Ned to know. Whether it's truthful or not, Varys is telling Ned something. Again, if Varys is honestly a nice guy, like he seems to be here, like looking out for the better of the realm, as he says, like what's he said? There's two people in King's Landing, those who care about the better of the realm, those who care about themselves. Then it seems like he's, again, I don't know. Again, Varys could be lying about ever telling Jon this, but it seems like things that a guy who's on the right side would do.
I agree. It seems like this way that he is presenting himself here seems good, but I guess he doesn't seem like he has loyalty to anybody, is what I would say.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think so he says that. He says there's two people in King's Landing, those who like the realm and those who look out for themselves. I think he's probably a little bit of both. I think he probably wants the best for the realm.
No, I think he's probably more.
But he's not going to stick his neck out.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm saying when I say that. Is like he's looking out for himself and in the guise of looking out for the realm.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if it's so much as that.
I think it's more of to look out for the realm. He has to look out for himself.
Yeah, I can't help the realm if I'm dead. It's kind of what I get from it.
Fair enough.
Like, hey, I want to help you, but I'm not going to stick my neck out any further than I got to because I'm not going to be around long if I do that. So that's the end of the chapter. This was by far our longest chapter, about twice as long as any other chapter we've had so far.
All right. Well,
any closing thoughts? What does Ned do next, Kyle? We get another Ned chapter in like 3.
He's got to keep pushing the investigation. He's going to.
So he says in this one the only lead he has left is Jory checking out brothels.
I think he's going to go back to Gendry. I think he's going to try and figure out the
connection, why that's
reason.
Important.
Yeah.
Again, all we know about Gendry is that. So we find out here that Jon Aaron died for asking questions, and Gendry just happens to be one of the questions we heard he was asking.
No. Was it Jon Aaron died for asking questions, or was it?
Mm-hmm. He says he was hand for 14 years. Why did they kill him now?
Yeah, I guess you're right. The way I thought
it makes sense that it sounds like the Squire.
Yeah, that was what I thought they were talking about, but that makes sense.
Yeah, because the Squire's not asking questions. So I think it's Jon Aaron starts snooping around. That's why they kill him. Well, the last Ned chapter, we find out the snooping Jon was doing was to Gendry, right? He was visiting Gendry with Stannis, and then he visited brothels with Stannis, or visited a brothel with Stannis. So
Yeah,
Ned
so
is
he's
literally
following the
following
same
in the
path.
exact same footsteps.
Yeah, that's true, but I don't think that's going to stop him. I think
exactly.
Ned,
I think Ned's too honorable.
All right, Kyle. See you later, bud. It was great hanging out.
We'll see you in the next one, Kyle.
All right, later,
Bye,
nerds.
Kyle.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
See you later, Kyle. It was great hanging out, man. And now on to the spoiler section of Ned 7, guys. What are your hot takes on the spoilers here, boys?
I
got a
don't
few
have
things.
any.
Nothing?
I thought
Good.
Jalabar Zoe meant so much more, but then in intermission, I just realized he was nothing.
Okay, real quick question for you guys. And don't answer. I want you to answer right away. Who kills Sir Hugh of the Vale?
Gregor?
Who pays him?
Lannisters.
Why?
Littlefinger.
It's got to be Littlefinger. Lannisters didn't kill Jon Arryn. They have nothing to lose from Ned talking to fucking Sir Hugh. They probably don't even know.
Yeah.
They probably don't even know that Sir Hugh had anything to do with it. Littlefinger is setting up the Lannisters perfectly.
Yeah.
Does Varys know? Does Varys know it's not the Lannisters?
I would say that he does, and he wants to just continue on fucking the Lannisters. This is where Varys and Littlefinger might be in cahoots. All right, let's drive this nail home. Let's fuck them up. We both don't like them.
I think you're right, and I think in a couple chapters, I keep saying this, but I think in a couple chapters we're gonna get that Arya chapter where she's chasing cats. And
it's got to be the next because she mentioned it, right? It's got to be the next Arya.
Is the next chapter Arya?
I don't know. I don't have my book.
No, it's Tyrion.
It's Tyrion and then Arya, and then
Tyrion and they fight the mountain people.
People, then Arya, then Ned. Yeah, so she's gonna hear about it here soon. Varys has no clue. He says in that part where Arya hears Varys and Illyrio talking, she says, "And gods only know what Littlefinger's up to." Varys says that. So I think you're right. I think they're kind of in cahoots. But at that point, in that Arya chapter, that is when Varys stops going from cause conflict to hold off conflict, right? Illyrio says we're not ready for war.
Mm-hmm.
Varys says this is no longer a game for two players. It's not just us and Littlefinger. It's not just us and the Lannisters, whatever. There's more moving pieces now. And Illyrio is hold it off. Basically, again, this at a high level, I think Varys' plan is just once Aegon, or it's Fagon, whatever you think. The guy, John Con,
the guy with
John
pink
Con,
hair,
the guy with blue hair. What do they call him? Young Griff.
Young Griff.
Their whole plan is hold off war until Young Griff is ready. Right.
When Young Griff is ready, a little bitch.
When Young Griff is ready, have everybody in conflict so that somebody coming in isn't fighting a united front. They're fighting small armies.
And then there's Savior. And then there's Savior of the
exactly
realm.
The Savior. Yeah. So Varys should be going, and again, he might not know it yet, right? He might think, because it seems like their first bet is on Viserys / Dany, and it's going to be hey, maybe we want them to come. But at this point,
I think when they sold Dany to the Dothraki, they're basically saying, fuck those two, we're not going to be able to bring the horse swords across the sea.
Well,
let's put all our stakes in Fagon.
Or kind of Viserys, Illyrio maybe thinks it's going to be more of an immediate thing. More of hey, we'll trade you Dany, and then we'll go take over the Seven Kingdoms.
I think Illyrio is smarter than that, though.
I think you're right, but I don't understand. I don't understand the point in any of the Dany stuff, except again, and I'll talk about this later when we get to more of it happening. Unless Illyrio is trying to hatch dragons, which is potential.
I mean, he did give the eggs.
He gives them the dragon eggs. Miri Mazdor, who is kind of the one who's responsible for it, used to study with Marwyn. What the fuck is she do? She used to study with the most wizardy dude in the Citadel. What the fuck is she doing in the middle of a goat farmer's herd? You know what I mean? it's weird that she's there. So did Illyrio put her there and put the dragon eggs there and kind of put everything together? I don't know. Also, for the longest time, up until the dragon eggs hatch, Jorah is trying to get Dany to go to a shy. Or maybe it's even after the dragon eggs hatch. For a long time, Jorah is trying to get Dany to go to a shy.
Shadow.
Oh no, that's what it is. From the time Drogo dies until the dragons hatch, Jorah's like, we need to go to a shy. We need to go to a shy. We need to go to a
Is
shy.
that where they find Mirama's door?
No, but a shy is kind of a mysterious place known for dragons. And then once the dragons hatch, Jorah's like, oh no, we should go south, or we should go to Karth, or whatever. Like, he totally changes his mind. And Jorah is a Varys Illyrio crony, right? He works for them.
Yeah.
So why is he trying to get them to go to a shy? Maybe to hatch dragons. So maybe their plan is, we'll send off one group of Targaryens to go get some dragons. We'll send off another group of Targaryens. Or we'll train this other Targaryen, Jon Con Jr., young Griff,
Jon
whatever.
Con Jr.
Like,
and we can combine forces or something
and
like
combine
that.
forces, which is kind of what they end up doing in the end. Like, when Tyrion's on that boat with young Griff, that's kind of what he's saying. Again, you guys, if you have not read all the books, I don't care if you've seen the show, you should not be listening to this section. There's a lot of stuff that's not the same.
There's a lot of stuff you're gonna have no idea what we're talking about.
No idea what we're
either.
talking about. You have no idea who Jon Con is or young Griff, but I think that's their plan. I'm not sure, but I think that's their plan. So it's weird. It's kind of weird to see what Varys is doing here, and I think we got Kyle on the ropes. I think Kyle's confused right now as to whether Varys is 100% a good guy, 100% bad guy.
I think he should be like, man, I'm kind of all over the place on everything. Like, whatever Kyle thought, he has no idea anymore, I feel.
And
like, it's so deep. Like,
so
if he
one
hasn't
thing
figured out it's so
I
deep.
wanted to bring up there with Varys, he's definitely what you said earlier. He's at least a black. What do they call black
dragon or Blackfire?
Blackfire, because he knows secrets that only Targaryens know.
So they say that the male line of the Blackfires is dead, but the female, they don't say. Illyrio literally says that the male line of Blackfires is dead. But
You think Varys is actually a Targaryen?
Or
a lot of
Blackfire?
people do. A lot of people do. Yeah,
After Nelson putting it in my head and then seeing that he knows
I don't think
secrets
I've
only
ever heard him say
Targaryens
that.
know.
Yeah, but he's also the spider. I mean,
what does Egg do? Jeff, how does Egg hide his Targaryenness?
They dye his hair.
Shaves his hair.
Or they shave his head. Shaves his head. But he doesn't have purple. He doesn't have purple eyes. We never hear about Varys' eyes.
We don't hear about his eyes, but I don't know.
Ooh, that's something. That's a good note. Let's look out for his eyes.
That's a theory. Is that he's a black? He's related. I think it's more likely that Illyrio fucked a woman from the female line, because they say all the males in that line died, but their blood continued on through the female line.
And Varys was the child of that?
No, I think Aegon, young Griff, is the child of Illyrio. I don't think this. I think there's a good shot he's actually Aegon. The most popular theory, though, is that it's fake Aegon.
What's the story about how Aegon got away from the mountain?
Varys says that he knew that the sack was going to happen. He knew that Tywin was going to betray them, so he took just a fucking baby orphan from Flea Bottom and swapped the babies. So the main theory that a lot of people, probably most people who are like into Game of Thrones, like think about theories, believe is young Griff Aegon isn't a real Targaryen. He is the son of Illyrio and some woman from the Blackfire female line. So he's half Blackfire on the female side and Illyrio's son, which is why Illyrio is so invested. Why else would Illyrio care who fucking sits the throne in Westeros, right?
Unless it's his son.
And there's other shit later that Illyrio says, like, he keeps, like...
Wasn't Illyrio originally from the Seven Kingdoms, though?
No, him and Varys met in Pentos, and they were, like...
he was just a sellsword,
together.
Right? Oh, yeah.
They were, like, pickpockets, and then they realized they could make more money by stealing letters than by stealing gold or something. But he says something in, like, Dance with Dragons when talking to Tyrion that, like, he keeps, like, a woman's hand or, like, a woman's glove in his, like...
I think it's a hand.
It's like a hand.
Yeah, it's a full, like,
creepy.
skull
It's
hand.
Like a full
bony skeleton hand.
So there's something weird going on with Illyrio.
There was always something weird going on with Illyrio.
That's the main theory. I'm interested to see if so Kyle has gotten a lot more Game of Thrones knowledge crammed in his head than most people. Yeah, he's read the book over the course of almost a year at this point, and we're only halfway through. But
we've
he
been
gets
spoon feeding him a bunch of
but we've been
information.
spoon feeding him a lot. Most people don't realize when Arya overhears that it's Varia and Illyrio. I wonder if
I
Kyle's gonna
didn't.
pick up on
I
it.
had no fucking clue. Well, how do they describe the people?
It's just like a fat man. It's like a fat guy.
I don't think he will.
I don't think he will either. I don't think.
I
did
mean, it's
until
the
I saw
same
it
thing
somewhere.
as if he would have picked up on it was Sir Hugh of the Vale was the guy who died.
Yeah.
I-
So besides that, they talk about Lancel.
Glow, you went all nuts when we talked about
Oh, dude, you
Robert's
brought up the
daughter.
girl from the Vale, and I was like, oh shit, that's what's her name? I forgot her name, but I was
What?
like,
Glow literally like his jaw dropped, and he's like,
what's
Oh.
her
"Hey,
name?
what's going on, Glow?"
What's her
literally,
name
There was like
when
a
Sansa gets
5-second. I was
there?
like, oh,
Maya
Oh
Stone.
wait, I can't say
Maya
this right now.
Stone. What
Maya
does she
Stone.
do? Does she do anything important?
She's the one who. Yeah, she's the one who rides. Who
Sansa
brings
up
people
the-
Right,
down the
right.
mountain. She's like the one who carries the donkeys or the mules.
I
Or
was like,
whatever, and helps.
Reading the book, I was like, why does this girl seem so important? Like, what the fuck's going on here? And now it makes sense.
And then he has a 7-year-old, Edric Stone. We find out about later on. He in the show, Gendry takes the place of both Gendry and Edric Stone, who is his other bastard from King's Landing. Edric Stone is the one that gets captured by, or I think wants to get captured by Mel. I forget how it actually happens, but she's the one that Melisandre wants to take blood from.
Yeah.
Gendry's in the Riverlands the whole time. He never meets Stannis or any of them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think all that shit's real cool.
That's what I'm
I thought
saying,
there was
man.
ano-
It's way too deep for Kyle to pick up on anything. Like, I'm reading it for the second time, and I'm like, wait, what was her name? Like,
So I think the one thing that I was afraid that you guys were going to spoil, but it's kind of obvious you shouldn't, is when they're talking about the bastards, Ned says, like, yeah, obviously Cersei wouldn't be happy about bastards, but they don't serve a threat to any true-born son. And then it says, like, ... And then it, like, something, like, at that point, that's right when Varys walks in.
it's kind of weird that Kyle hasn't said that Joffrey is a bastard of Cersei
It's
and Jaime
weird,
yet.
right? That hasn't come up yet.
I feel like he should have known that by now.
And it's the same thing with Ned, I guess, though. Like, Ned should know this by now, but he doesn't. That's fucking...
true.
Oh my god, that's crazy!
I think that's going to be the
Kyle
biggest what
is
the fuck
Ned right
moment.
now.
That's got to be the biggest what the fuck moment for Kyle.
I
right,
mean,
when
the
he
big...
finds out.
Because like we said, we've been spoon-feeding. We've been like, yeah, the seed is strong. Like, they all have dark hair, and like, oh, here's Joffrey.
Again, I gave him a little... Again, I don't know if this piece that I tried to feed him here would have unraveled everything in his head, but I tried to kind of force a little clue on him. When Renly wins the bet, what does he say?
Oh, this is one of my points. Renly says he would have won twice as much if Tyrion was there.
Tyrion was there. But
Earlier...
this fight, how many times have we heard about this fucking bet that Tyrion lost when Jaime beat...
When Jaime lost to Sir Loras.
Yeah.
Yeah, when Jaime lost to Sir Loras.
So that means Tyrion bet for
Renly's thing makes it seem like
Tyrion did definitely bet this.
Jaime.
He
Exactly.
definitely bet this dagger.
And I knew Renly said this here, which is why every time this fight has been mentioned, and it's probably mentioned like 5 or 6 times now, that joust where the dagger changes hands. It's a fraud. That never happened because Tyrion never would have bet against Jaime. And it's kind of stupid that if Renly's smart enough to know Tyrion always bets on Jaime, that's the lie Littlefinger comes up with. Right? Make it a bet. Make it a joust against any 2 other people.
Because that came up in front of
Ned.
a crowd. A Ned.
And Ned. Right? Ned should have heard that that's how... Ned's definitely heard that that's how Tyrion...
Yeah, you should have put 2 and 2 together right there, Kyle. Figure it out.
So that's kind of why I gave that to Kyle too. So even if Kyle gets that, all that really tells him is, oh, Tyrion wasn't behind it. Right? But it also kind of puts a little... casts a little doubt on Littlefinger. So the other one was, and the other thing that I didn't read, I left it for spoilers only because I didn't want to spoon feed it to him, but it was when Ned talks about Lancel. It's Lancel and Tyrek are the 2 squires. They only say Lancel's name, but it's Lancel and Tyrek Lannister, or Robert's 2 squires. And the description is, he could not help taking note of the two squires, handsome boys, fair and well made. One was Sansa's age with long golden curls, the other perhaps 15, sandy haired with a wisp of a mustache and emerald green eyes. So it's like the first one has Joffrey's hair, the second one has Joffrey's eyes.
Yeah.
It's literally the description of them. I didn't say that to Cobbs. I didn't want to feed him, hey, Lannisters are golden haired, green eyes every time, but it's fucking what it is.
Yeah, but
Alright,
that
my
could also
trivia
be
question
like alleles, like, hey,
You could also take that
they
their seed is
overpower
strong.
the Baratheon alleles. I don't know.
Their seed is stronger.
That's that could be
The seed is strong.
Whose
their
seed
seed
is
is also
stronger?
stronger. Yeah, exactly.
Well, no, the seed is strong is that means Robert's seed is strong. Every Baratheon child has brown hair, which means the fact that Joffrey doesn't means that he's not a Baratheon.
Yeah, but
That's the whole.
almost
but it's
every
all-
Lannister has
but-
blonde hair too.
Yeah, curly gold hair with green eyes is a Lannister trait.
Yeah, exactly. They're both Lannisters. These two guys.
So they're
Yeah,
right, but
they
Joffrey
never
has
banged
Lannister.
a
It's
dark
not like the male
brown-haired
carries
female?
75 and the woman's 25. Like it's still 50-50 genetically speaking.
Oh, you say okay? I got what you're saying. Well, the second one, they only talk about one trait of each. The first one has golden hair. They don't say anything about his eyes. The second one has sandy hair, but it's green eyes.
Yeah.
So they're kind of showing Lannister traits across two people.
I mean,
but-
Sandy's pretty blonde, if you ask me.
Yeah. So, again, not much in this one, but my little trivia question for you guys:
All
Who
right, I'm ready.
wins? Who wins the archery contest?
His name? Some Dornish
his
guy.
name.
It's a Dornish guy.
And guy from Dorne. And the
Is he
only
sh-
reason I believe he didn't take the job with Ned is because he is Dornish. I don't think it was just because he was drunk. I think it was because he was
You don't know who?
Dornish.
You guys don't know who Engai is?
Nope, but I don't think he took the job for a reason.
And guy.
Engai the archer. He's the archer who fucking
Yellow?
teaches. No, he's not. He's with them. Lemon Cloak and Engai. They're like the two guys with the Brotherhoods Without Banners.
I don't remember.
Like, remember in the show and in Arya, like in the I don't know if it happens the same in the book, but in the show when Arya and Gendry and Hot Pie get caught, he like shoots an arrow straight up in the air, and he's like, when I'm talking, this arrow's gonna fall straight
That's
on your head,
Engai?
so you better move because I'm done
that was
talking.
Lemon Cloak.
No, that's Lemon Cloak. Where's a lemon colored cloak? That guy's not wearing a lemon colored
I
cloak.
thought he was
I
an
didn't
archer,
pay
though.
attention.
I thought Lemon
He
Cloak-
is. No,
they
there's two
call
of
this
them.
guy Archer.
They call him Engai, the archer.
I think they call him Archer.
They might call him Archer too, but it's this guy. He's the guy. He's like one of the head Brotherhood Without Banners.
I
guys.
knew he was Dornish.
I never caught this until this read through that
Yeah,
that
this
he
is
wins
what,
a
your
tournament.
fourth time reading it, so
Dude, he has to win a thing. So another thing that I wanted to point out for sure is that the winner of this tournament got 90,000 dragons. That's a shit ton of money. Do you know what happens to that money?
um,
The Hound gets it.
the Hound gives it to the Lannisters.
He's not giving it to anybody. He keeps it, but that Hound leaves during the Battle of Blackwater.
And
Gets captured
and
by the Brotherhood Without Banners, and they
Brother-
give him like an IOU. We'll pay you back when the war's over. They give him a piece of paper.
they give the Hound that.
They give the Hound an IOU for 90,000 dragons because they take all his money.
They're good
So
for
this
it. Just like
this
Dumb
money-
and Dumber.
that's a ton of money that ends up in the hands of the Brotherhood Without Banners, which is kind of like
I mean,
how does the brother
we've got a long time till the Battle of
Till we
Black
get to that
Lions.
point.
But I don't think he spent. Think about it.
He's
Everything he's ever needed.
spending 1,000 of it.
Everything he
89,000.
needs. Everything he needs up to this point is getting paid for by the Lannisters. The only thing he spends of that is from the time he leaves Battle of Blackwater until he gets captured. Plus, Engai has to have a lot himself just from this win, but it's nuts.
Probably
Well,
has
you got
like
anything
10.
else? I only got one more thing.
I actually have. All right, so first thing first here. When Robert and Ned are both talking to each other, they're like having a heart to heart. It's when Ned can't comment on like Robert being a good king. Robert says, "You could never lie for love nor honor."
This remind me 100% of when Jon in the show refuses to tell Cersei that he tells Cersei that he bent the knee to Daenerys already, and afterwards Daenerys and Tyrion are like, "You gotta learn to lie once in a while." That's 100% what this reminds me of. It's just.
But
Jon
at the
in
same
show.
time, Ned has lied to his face, apparently, about John being a Targaryen child and all that. And I think that's like the first, not first. I mean, there's plenty of.
Is
hints
Ned
here
the
and there.
best liar because he only lies about one thing?
Yeah.
I think so. But I think it's a little bit of irony that George R.R. Martin's putting in there. Like, you could never lie. It's like Robert saying that. Like, Lyanna had a kid with someone else.
Maybe Ned feels guilty. Yeah, when Robert says that. That reminds me of.
I was hoping to see a Ned thought after that, and there was nothing. And I was like, fuck.
Do you remember what in Pirates of the Caribbean, Captain Jack Sparrow tells Barbossa?
Which
He says,
movie?
yeah,
There's a
fuck.
lot of
in the
conversation.
first one, he says he's like, a dishonest man you can always trust to be dishonest. It's the honest ones you have to look out for, because you never know when they're gonna do something incredibly stupid.
Yeah.
It's like what Glow just said. Like, yeah, you know a liar is always a liar. You know, anytime Varys tells you something, anytime Littlefinger tells you something, you gotta take it with a grain of salt. When Ned tells you something, you gotta take it for truth, but you never know when he's gonna be lying about something.
Speaking of Varys, that was my other note.
All right,
Instead
before we
of
get to Varys, I have one more thing before that. Syrio, what does Arya say Syrio is doing to train him?
What?
chase
him?
Before the
cats,
catching
stand on
cats.
one leg.
Ned says I caught her doing
Oh,
something.
work with
Blindfold.
blindfold.
Does that remind you guys of anything?
She's trained to not use her eyes. Like
When the House of Black and White
He
literally
makes
make
her
her blind
Yeah.
to teach her that kind of stuff.
She
Is
already
he
has
c-
training.
I
So
mean,
he's from Bravos,
He might
but
be.
is
No.
he in cahoots with them? I don't think he's a faceless man, but is he in cahoots? I mean,
He
fuck
probably
it.
just like
Hold on.
knows the legends of the faceless man. It's like, all right, like if they're doing it, like that's death. Like, what do we say to death? All right, train with your eyes closed.
He has a lot of faceless men qualities. Also, think about this: Jack and Hagar ends up in the black cells. How the fuck does he get there? He gets there on purpose?
I feel like he could just appear there if he really wanted to.
So,
Okay, well,
So
Syrio
you're saying Syrio is Jack and
Dies.
Hagar?
maybe.
Dude, I like that.
That's a
I
crazy
like it.
take. I don't see it as being like, oh, it's no way. I definitely could see it. I mean,
I don't see how it's
I like it.
possible.
he follows
because
Arya. That guy follows
Arya-
Arya.
Arya leaves him, and he's alone in a one-on-one fight with Sir Maren Trant. Sir Maren's alive. So
But we're also talking
how
about a
does
guy
he-
who dies. Like Arya kills him, doesn't he?
Who?
or-
What?
Doesn't
Samara
Arya
and
like?
Trent.
No, I'm saying
In the show, she does.
what the
not-
fuck's his name? The faceless
Syrio.
guy. No, the faceless.
Jack and
Jaqen.
Hagar.
Doesn't
doesn't
she
kill
kill
him.
Jaqen? Doesn't she give
No,
him the poison?
She
just
names
show.
him as her last wish because she wants like 4 people dead, and he's like, I can't do that. You only get 1 more. And she's like, then I name you. And he's like, that's fucked
No,
up.
I'm
Don't
thinking
do
about
it.
when she was training. Like, doesn't he take the poison? I might be just thinking of show. Like,
No,
he
I think
drinks
that's
it
in the show.
when she. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
So-
like, he could probably die, like them cast him off somewhere, and then like him get up and then walk into the black cell.
I don't know.
What do you mean? We're talking about the faceless men who can literally.
Yeah,
take
but we've never
faces
seen
off.
anybody come back from dead just from like by themselves.
This person isn't even a
At
real
the same
thing.
time,
It's
so when
like
Syrio
magic.
fights Maren Trant, he has a wooden fucking sword. All he can really do is knock people out. He can't really
Exactly.
kill him that well. It's going to take a couple hacks to kill someone.
I could see him knocking Maren out and then ending up in the black cells. But we know that 2 men enter and then Arya's gone. We don't know what happens. So I could see it, but I don't know if I believe it. I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't know if I believe it. And it's something that I don't know if we'd ever find out.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Syrio's been dead for 5 books. What's the point in bringing him up now?
I think at the same time, Jack and Hagar is going to pop up in the books at some point and be like, "Yeah, I was Syrio."
You know a more popular
He's going to
theory?
turn his face into Syrio real quick and be like, "She's like, wow, you were here the whole fucking time."
So another point I want to make to Jeff is in this in the show the face changing is way more magic-y than in the books. In the books, they like literally cut her skin here and take another face and like tuck it underneath her cut skin. Like it's like an actual physical
yeah.
surgery kind of.
Yeah.
In the show, it's not just like face like it is in the
book, you
or in
mean.
the books.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like face.
Yeah,
like it is in the
no,
show.
I get that, but I mean, they still take on like the whole body persona by putting the face on.
That's true. And real quick, while we're on the topic, Jaqen Hagar gives Arya a coin, right? When you're in the black cells, they take everything you have, strip you naked. Where does he get the coin?
Of his butthole, dude.
Of his butthole. He gave Arya a butt coin. So another thing is, just because again we're on it, I'll give you guys another theory about Jaqen Hagar. Some people think it's Ned. Some people think Jaqen Hagar face swap with Ned somehow in the black cells because they're both in there together.
Yeah, no, you've told me that before. And that Ned's still alive?
Yeah.
I don't like it.
I don't like it either, and I don't think it's true. Like
Ned's too
trained in that.
honorable.
Yeah, he isn't
He
trained in it.
won't
Like,
kill
how would he
people.
know to teach Arya that kind of stuff? Yeah, I don't buy it either. That was the last thing I got. Glow. What do you got about Varys?
Renly, yeah. Forget me not blue. All right, so this is going off of you, Nelson, saying how both Lyanna's tourney, the tourney that she went to, I forget what that one was, and the tourney of the hand have similarities to each other. Loras Tyrell, who gave Sansa a rose, was wearing blue flowers on his cloak.
And people think that Rhaegar cheated in the tournament. I've told you guys this before, and Jeff argued with me and said, no, Rhaegar's a good fighter. People, like, Barristan says Rhaegar's not that good of a fighter.
I didn't say that. I don't know anything about him being a fighter, so I don't.
Barristan, I'm pretty sure, tells Dany, like, yeah, he was pretty good at it. He wasn't a good jouster. He was pretty good with a sword. But he won that tournament, so people think he cheated somehow.
Yeah, and then when you said that to me, I was like, all right, yeah, maybe. I didn't. He's a singer. He's a pussy.
He's just...
It's probably me fighting him.
So he cheats Lady Stark with a rose, Sansa with a rose, blue flowers, Loras cheats against Gregor. Again, it doesn't really prove anything, but there's a lot of weird similarities. And George does that a lot just because it's like a literary device. Like
history repeats itself. Blah,
exactly.
blah, blah.
Just like or just like having things mirror each other in different parts of the world, right? Like later, this happens later in the books when there's more people spread out, but like there's stuff that like one person has going on that's very similar to something that somebody else has going on. It doesn't mean it relates or anything, but it's interesting, something to keep an eye
on. One question I had was red wine. Is that a Targaryen family line? Is that the people that compete with the Targaryens? I forget what the red wines are.
They were two brothers that fought over the same land.
No, that's the Fossaways. What?
Wasn't there like a red wine and a black wine?
I don't think so. The red wines are sworn to. I'm pretty sure they're sworn to the Tyrells. They live up the up the river from. I think it's called the Mander. It's where when Euron brings his fleet in book 4 or 5, whichever one that is, and like parks it at the mouth of the river. I think he attacks the Sisters, which is a group of 3 islands right off the mouth. The Arbor commands the biggest fleet. The Red Wine Arbor brings their whole fleet out the ship to King's Landing to put siege on Dragonstone when Stannis is there. That's when Loras charges through the breach and gets like boiling oil poured on him and almost dies. The Red Wines are that fleet.
So okay, so they're Tyrell.
They're Tyrell Bannermen.
Tyrell Bannermen / like the Karstark equivalent to.
Yeah, basically. Yep. And they have the biggest navy. They're like the navy.
Okay.
So they help out in King's Landing when Marjorie is king because Marjorie's queen because Marjorie's queen and they're sworn to her.
Okay.
That's like the thing about the red wines, I think.
So my last note here is about Varys, which you said, Varys, let's skip on, but we circle back in the first description that Ned has of Varys. It's sweat instead of sweet. So, sweat instead of lavender, which I guess could be contributed to sweet, because in all the other descriptions he always says he's sweet or whatever. So I think instead of using sweet words, he's using his actual thoughts and feelings here. He is being honest. He is... I wouldn't say he's not holding back, because sweat, I mean, you only change one word and it's sweet. Or one letter and it's sweet. But he is giving him mostly the truth here. Like everything he responds to him, everything he gives to him is mainly the truth. He might hold back a little bit, but it's not a lot.
Him and Littlefinger are great at it, and that's why I love them. Like I said, they both know that if they're not useful at any given second, they're dead. So Littlefinger, even like Ned could have Varys killed. Fuck it, if Ned told Robert kill Varys, it could happen. So here, Varys gives Ned enough. Varys has to know Littlefinger was behind it, right? Not the Lannisters, but he kind of blames it on the Lannisters here.
So that's
It's
the
weird.
thing. So with the Sweet and Sweat, it's his like, it's very truthful, but there is a little hidden lie in there. So if he said he smelled musky or something instead of sweaty,
Sweat is different.
that's where it's like
it's not as close to sweet.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be the difference. So he is hiding lies, and I think that persuaded me when you talked about it earlier. Him being hiding lies about the Lannisters, like it's not really the Lannisters, but it was kind of the Lannisters.
It's close enough for Ned to get what he needs out of it. So I didn't think about this until just now, but if Varys is working with Littlefinger, which he must be because they have to both know about this, when Ned gets to his room and he looks out the window, he says Littlefinger's lights on. What's the point in that? Even when we were talking to Kyle, we said I don't really know if there's a point in that. The only point I can see in it is, was Varys literally just with Littlefinger?
That's exactly why I'm saying sweet and like. At first, I said Sweat. Okay, he's totally being honest, but since it's so close, there's got to be a lie. He's working with Littlefinger on this.
Yeah, I love it. We're getting into the politics of it. We're getting into everything. So good.
Chloe's looking out for a couple things: sweet, trees, and something else. I forget.
Direwolves.
Direwolves.
And eyes. If we ever
So-
hear of Varys' eyes, that would be a big one.
If they're purple, I'll.
Another
Start
thing that I
getting-
heard somebody on YouTube say over the weekend was we should keep an eye out for red smile. A lot of times people say like, "Oh, I'll give him a red smile," meaning like cut your neck.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Jokers,
But
jokerish.
not who?
Sour
what in
leaf.
Game of Thrones? Besides Sourleaf, what has red smiles?
Somebody's sigil.
Fucking the trees. I forget.
Trees, weirwood trees.
Yeah.
No, but 100% Sourleaf has a connection to that then.
It might, yeah, and I mean,
Because he
it
says a red smile to that about the chick at the
Yeah,
one
Marcia
hotel.
yeah, Marcia Heedle. But also, so the reason I was thinking about it is I was watching, or I was listening to something about the Dance with Dragons, and somebody tells Theon he's going to get a red smile. And then in some of the Winds of Winter chapters, there's an insinuation that Littlefinger or Theon will die at a weirwood tree. Like he'll be sacrificed at a weirwood tree. So if that happens, is he going to become part of the weirwood net and end up as like being in there, kind of like absorbed in the blood as like the children of the forest think? I don't know. It's something I don't think it has nothing to do with this chapter, but it's another thing along with the lines of sweat, direwolves that Glow's looking out for. Keep an eye out for red smile.
Sweet.
All right, that's all I got. Jeff?
There was a lot. That was a lot more than I expected. I knew there was a lot of names and shit, but we got pretty deep into the John Con, and
It was a short. I mean, we only went for less than half an hour. in
I mean,
spoiler
some of
section.
these spoilers were like 17 minutes. So I feel like this is even double of what our recent spoilers have been. But
I don't know.
no, I mean, I think it's good. I mean, we're really getting into it now. Like at this point, Kyle, I feel like Kyle came into reading this and was like, "Oh, I know everything. Like I seen 5 episodes of the show. Bran's the king in a wheelchair. Like he's in for a long ride."
Yeah, I'm excited. I fucking love this shit.
At the same point, Kyle's in for a ride. We are too. Once we get fucking Winds of Winter,
Dude, okay, so
this would be
I don't know.
fucking amazing.
I don't know how many people make it this far in the podcast, but George R. R. Martin has put out some updates. He is at a very high risk for coronavirus.
Because he's old as shit.
He's old, isn't in the best health.
Yeah, he said
So
he was
He should
quarantined.
be writing every day.
So he has quarantined himself hard, and he says every day he spends more time in Westeros than he does in real life.
Good. Figure it
Also-
out. Figure it out, George.
I heard somebody saying this. John Con, we'll go back to John Con because I know Jeff loves him. What's up with John Con right now?
Didn't they
At
just?
the end of Dance with Dragons.
He was in a fight. They took over a castle, and
Yeah, but what's up with John Con specifically?
he's
He
got
has
gray. He's got
grayscale.
gray. Yeah, grayscale.
Grayscale is extremely contagious. What do people normally do? What do maesters do with
Chop
somebody
it
when they have
off.
grayscale?
Chop that motherfucker off.
Or what do they do with the person?
Burn 'em.
Quarantine him.
Quarantine them in the fucking like whatever that place is called. What is John Con about to
Citadel.
do besides quarantine?
Start a war.
He's about to go into King's Landing and he's trying to take over King's Landing, the most populous city in the world.
He's gonna spread grayscale.
Is there going to be a grayscale coronavirus
there's gonna be a
epidemic in King's Landing?
A pandemic, and
I doubt it, but that was something I heard.
If that was true, I would stop. I wouldn't keep reading. I would stop.
But yeah, so George R. R. Martin has said he's quarantining hard, and he's doing a ton of writing right now. And I didn't see the actual quote from George R. R. Martin. I looked at some quotes from George R. R. Martin on his Not a Blog, and I didn't see this one. But I heard that he said that the book will be, he expects it to be done by the time the quarantines are over.
You told me it was going to be done when the last season was over. We're a
I
year.
told you,
dude,
I know.
You know what I got
wrong
on
about
Twitter, and our real fans will appreciate this? We just had our 1 year Twitter anniversary like 3 days ago.
How'd you know that?
It told me. Yeah, I think it was Monday. No, we didn't tweet. Our Twitter's dead. No one likes us.
I think once we finish the first book, that's when people will be like, these guys are legit. Because there's been a bunch of times that I've gone to look for a Game of Thrones podcast that goes chapter by chapter. And I'll see a bunch that make it like 15, 20 episodes. And I'm like, fuck that. I'm not going to listen to that if I can't listen to it for the whole book or for the whole series. Once we make it a book, people will be like, all right, these guys are legit. They're not stopping. All right, bye, guys. Have a good one.
See you
Thanks for
guys.
listening.
We'll see you on the next
Bye.
episode. Ned 7 was a great one. We'll see you on Tyrion, I think 4 or 5. Not sure. But we'll clarify next episode.
Doesn't matter. Numbers don't matter. Tyrion chapter's up next.
Tyrion number 4. You're right, Chloe. See you guys. Have a good one.
Bye.